and welcome to Kohler Commentary. Today, I am thrilled to welcome Grace Ryu, a fellow boy mom, content creator, nurse, and eldest daughter of an immigrant family. These are all identities we're going to talk about today. Grace, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
I'm
right.
scared, but I'm ready.
Online, she is known for her one-of-a-kind dance moves and her resilience and drive that has clearly come out to be an Enneagram 3. So we're going to dive deep into that as well. And it's been honestly mind-blowing to see how she has been able to balance her career in healthcare, her role as a mother, and her creative journey online. So in this podcast episode today, I wanted to invite Grace on to talk about the unique challenges and rewards that she's faced managing these different areas in her life. I also wanted to touch upon your journey through postpartum because I heard about your story in a different podcast and really give you the mic to give advice or empower new moms or fellow women in the workplace because you have kind of that authority to say it all. So welcome, Grace, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So once again, why did you say yes to my podcast?
Okay, so it's not like I get asked to do podcasts all the time, but I was just very intrigued that you approached me with exploring my Enneagram, which I do not know much about. You know, people tell me all the time and they try to explain to me, but I just don't truly understand it. All I know is that Enneagrams explore the motivations and how we work in that sense. So I was very intrigued how this podcast will maybe help me do some soul searching or learn more about myself. So if anything, you're helping me.
Yay, I love it. Before we started recording, Grace did say she's an open book. So this is that time to just peel out all the layers. Before I do begin, I know on the outside, these are the things at least I see as a follower of you. Would you be able to either describe yourself in additional layer or how would you introduce someone? Or did I do a good job?
Oh, yeah, no, I feel like I wear a lot of hats, but I think that's just my personality. I'm never okay just doing one thing. And it's a blessing and a curse, you know? But my parents always have taught me to just do the things that I love. And I feel like that's what I embody. You know, I'm a nurse because I love helping people. I love healthcare. That's always kind of what I've always wanted to do. I show silly dance videos because essentially I'm silly. My job is very serious, but I'm a very silly person and I like having fun and I love dancing. I wish to God that my parents put me in professional dance classes, but they never did. So
this is you?
This is I did some background in dancing in high school, which I was fortunate to be in dance class and my dance teacher, she taught us ballet, jazz, lyrical, all those things, but to start in high school, it's not enough, it's not enough to the level I want to be, but that doesn't stop me. So I still take the things that I've learned and just try to make fun of it. And I would definitely say that content creating has become my outlet. So I definitely showcase that. I had a stint of being a hair and makeup artist for a little bit. Not for a little bit, actually. I did it for a good 5 years while I was pursuing my healthcare careers. So, I've stopped doing that, hair and makeup for weddings and stuff. I'll do it here and there, but definitely showcasing my love for beauty and things like that through content creating and through social media. It's been so fun to do that. My biggest thing is I love relating to people. I think that's the connection that I like to feel, and I'm like that with my patients. I might not understand exactly what they're going through because I'm not sick, right? But to just learn how to empathize and it's a skill, and so
absolutely.
But I definitely feel connected with people that way, and so I think anything that I do, I definitely try to strive for that connection.
Okay. I feel like you just said a lot that...
Sorry.
No. Not in a bad... I'm saying, I feel like I just got to know a little bit more of your heart behind the things that you do,
Oh, yeah.
In a good way, so thank you.
Okay, sorry. Like I said, I'm an open book, so I will share my heart. Yeah.
I love open books.
Okay.
So I would like to ask you, with the different things that you do juggle, right now, like current day today, could you give us maybe a little day in the life, or maybe it's like a week in the life sneak peek of what it is that you handle, because you have so many different hats that you wear.
So in the other podcast, they asked me like a similar question. I told them like, I can't give you a day in a life because my day in a life, like, because I work 12-hour schedules, like one whole day is me at work, you know? So if I do like a week in my life, you know, 3 out of the 7 days I'm at the hospital. And then 2 out of those 7 days I'm in clinic. So 5 days out of the week I'm out. Like I'm doing my job in school. So my mom watches my son during the days I go to work. And then the 2 days I'm at clinicals as in, because I'm an NP. So let me say, maybe I should tell people like I'm in nurse practitioner school. So I have a full-time job and I go to school to be a nurse practitioner. So we have to do clinicals. So I go into clinic to do my hours. And so those 2 days, my husband watches him from like 8 to 5. And then I'll come home and kind of, you know, be at home, make dinner or hang out with, maybe I don't want to cook. So we'll go eat out. Yeah. But I do try to cook as much as possible. I'm not a good cook, but, you know, to save money, right? Like, you just have to. So I definitely love sharing those types of content. Like, I'll just film, not to, like, you know, just to film to show people, like, hey, yeah, you could be busy, but here are, like, easy meals you can make because everyone's struggling.
And I feel like it makes it these mundane moments or things like that where you might not want to cook on a long day, right? Filming it also makes it a little bit more fun for yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
To me, it's fun. I mean, some days if it seems like a chore, I don't do it. So that's the thing with content creating. It's like I don't do it out of like obligation. For me, content creating has been my outlet. So like just a way for me to feel free in my creativity, you know? And a lot of times it's just me having fun with my son, you know? Like I see a new dance trend and like I want to do it. Like, and also it helps me exercise. Like, you know, dancing burns off a lot of calories. So I'm here like learning choreo.
Go hard. You're not just like, doing it. You're like,
no.
So.
I think I posted like Blackpink Jennie's mantra dance video like I did with my, I wanted to show my husband. And I just went like full out like crazy. And then there's this one comment that was like, that was like not good. Like, you're definitely not hotter than Jennie. I'm like, no kidding. But it's so fun for me. So sometimes like after dinner, we'll do that. Yeah, like I'll film a dance video with my son, but it's not like I'm trying to pull out content, you know. That was never the intent of my content creation. It just happened.
But, you know, as you are getting bigger now, do you find that you have to be more intentional with the content creation, or is it still back to that same, like when it brings you that joy?
Yeah, no, I don't let it. Because,
That's
I mean,
good.
like, actually recently, I haven't posted much because I've been so sick. And this is not my job, you know? This is not my career. I would say I do this on the side. And yes, if I generate income, it's great, you know? But nursing is my full-time job. So I don't feel obligated to post. So I really cherish my Instagram or, like, TikTok, like, to be just that. I want to just make it fun, you know, for me. I don't want to change that because I think if it changes that motive, then it might change the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
And because it's been such an outlet for me, like, I just wanted to keep it that way. I mean, maybe it will change in the future, but
It could.
I mean, for now, yeah.
We were talking about that too, and like you had mentioned, we had you retake the test again for Enneagram, and you got a 3.
Yeah.
And you were saying you're most likely a 3 wing too, but your 4 actually scored high as well. And
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, see, I don't understand.
It doesn't mean you're automatically a 4, and I think both sides, the 2 and the 4, are there to be your wing as an Enneagram 3. But it does sound like for you, a healthy way to the 4 is like the romanticist, the individualist. It allows you to have this expression expression in a sense of your authentic self. And I see that being used well through content creation, especially because of how many hats you have to wear, where there is no negotiation. There's no like, oh, you can just like take a break if you want, right? Like school's not going to stop. Your patients need you and your family needs you. And so I love that you're able to see this content creation portion as a place where it's for you and only you, and not necessarily like my followers need this, right? Like that's not going to make or break it for you, even though I can tell you love that relationship and connection with them as well. That's really cool to hear.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
There's one little tidbit for you on the Enneagram.
Yeah, I learned something about myself.
Okay, so I do want to ask you then, as an Enneagram 3, you are just naturally ambitious and driven. One, where does that drive come from? And then two, if we take the content part of it outside, right? Like career sounds super heavy for you right now. And then motherhood, it's never ending. Like how do you balance that when you might not feel like you're achieving every day, which as a mom, you never feel like that, right? And then you're a career mom, so you're probably never going to feel like that. And that doesn't mean you aren't, but I know those thoughts are there. So I'm curious how you manage that.
Yeah, I think it's just like the way I was raised. I want to say at a young age, I just had this inkling to just care and help for people. And obviously, there's a lot of life experiences that I've had to kind of get to that point. But as an eldest, as an eldest daughter in an immigrant home, like I had to basically grow up really fast. You know, I had to translate a lot of times for my family. Not just my parents, but like their family members. So like my aunts and uncles. I would have to go to like the immigration office or the courthouse or to the hospital like when I was 9 years old or 10 years old. So these experiences, I think, helped me to see that if anything, it didn't turn me away from helping. It actually drove it more because I realized like there's probably a lot of people like me out there. And so that goal came out of those life experiences. But I want to say like I just really appreciate how my parents didn't force me to go that way. So you know, like a lot of Koreans or like Asian American families, like their families always like be a lawyer, be a doctor, or like things like that. Like my parents never did that. Like I said earlier, my parents were always like, just do what you're passionate about and drive it home. They were always like, do it well and do it like with your whole heart. And because I'll tell you this, I had a stint in like 7th grade where I wanted to be an actress, like a Korean actress. Yeah. So, and my parents, like I was on this like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I want to be an actress. And then my parents were like, what the freak? But you know what? They let me do the actress thing for a little bit until I decided, okay, never mind. It's not for me. You know, like things like that. So I definitely say upbringing has a lot to do with that type of ambition that I had. Biggest thing, I think it's the reward aspect, right? Like it's the way you feel after you do a certain thing. So like some people, their reward is money, right? Like they're driven by money and the satisfaction of like making a lot. But for me, like money has never been a driving force for me. It's always been the reward of like how I feel after I do something. So like healthcare is like very that. Like I feel like it's a tiring job, but after you spend a day with like patients and like you help them do X, Y, and Z, or like help a doctor or whatever, the team, things like that, I feel great. Like I go to sleep happy. Like I'm tired, but I'm very joyful and like happy that this is what I get to do for my job, you know? And so being a mom, I never wanted that to stop me from that feeling because it's totally different, you know?
Right.
I never saw myself as the mom to just like be a mom. I never dreamed to be a stay-at-home mom or anything. I mean, I would love to. Like if I was a total different person, like if I could, I would, you know? Like I think being a stay-at-home mom is so hard, and like I look up to those women who like that's all they do. But like for me, I think I also want to show that example to my son. Like, hey, I want you to achieve like the things that you love to do. Like the same way my parents brought me up, like I want to be that example for my kids. And I want to show them like nothing can stop you. Like, you can do it all, honey. The world is your oyster. You know, like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I've had so many life experiences where either I was put down because I'm a woman, you know, I'm a girl. So there's already like a pressure on women to be X, Y, and Z. You have to be a good mother. You have to do this. You have to do that. Like, there's already that, right? And then, I don't know. I just feel like I just want to prove to people that I can do everything. I don't need, like, no one can bring me down kind of thing. I want to be that example for my kids. If I have a daughter,
I know,
like,
I want
to
a daughter.
I know. Please, God, I need a daughter. I'm going to tell her, like, you are a strong, independent woman, honey. And you can do it all. No one could tell you. And you can be a mother, too, and be a good mother. You know, I definitely, I feel like, you know, I just want to be that living example. I don't know. That was a lot, but yeah. That's
I love it. You have so much passion in everything you say, and I feel like that exudes. And it's funny because I was going to read off of like what does a type 3 parent look like? And their strength is type 3s inspire their children with their optimism and drive, encouraging them to set and achieve their goals. And I was like, well, you already said it. So
yeah,
like, you know, and there's so many other strengths about a type 3, but that's like one of the main ones that just comes to the immediate forefront. And I feel like that's what you are already doing for your family and then hope to do as well. I'm going to read a weakness of a type 3 parent and let you reflect on that. Okay. A weakness of a type 3 parent could be that their emphasis on success might inadvertently pressure their children to meet high expectations, potentially affecting the child's self-worth. And now I know your son is only like 2, so it's not, you're not at a place where you're probably affecting his self-worth right now, right? But when you hear that, what comes to mind? Or like maybe an image of you in the past, or even you right now, or how do you think that kind of transfers?
Oh yeah, that, like, my biggest fear is that. Because because my biggest struggle was self-worth. Like, like, am I worth it? Like, in every aspect of growing up, like in relationships, right? Like being with a guy or like dating, right? It was always the question of, am I worth it to this man? You know, like that's how, you know, that's like an aspect, right? Like, am I worth, like, I actually wanted to be a doctor. So I was not, and the nursing came later, but like even that, right? Like, am I worth it? Like, can I be a doctor? I always struggled with this worth thing. Even when I was like, became a Christian, like that was the struggle. Like, am I beautiful? Am I worth it to God? Like, it was like that struggle. So yeah, I definitely, like, I would hate to see my children go through what I went through. I mean, you're right. Like, right now he's too young, but I would hope that I would not instill that or like pressure them to have the same struggles as I did, you know? I will tell you, I'm in my 30s now, and I know I'm worth it. Honey, I am like not in that anymore, but that was definitely a struggle that I had growing up. And so it's definitely a fear.
How do you think you got to a place where you now know that kind of without a doubt?
You know, I think it's after I became a mom.
Okay.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, like I think because being a mom, like, I feel like you don't know what to expect, right? Like, you just hope that you're gonna be a good mom to your child, but like, you don't know what it's like until you live through it. And after you become a mom, I think I felt like, if I can do this, I can do anything. To be honest, if I could raise a child and keep them alive, like, damn, like, I can do it all. Like, that's how I felt, I think, because I struggled so much in my pregnancy and I struggled so much in my postpartum season that once I got out of that, like, period, like, dark season, I literally felt invincible. Like, yeah. And so, like, nothing was as hard as it was until I became a mom. That was the hardest.
I feel like when I was listening to this snippet in the Honey Jam podcast is what really resonated with me, because I also had a hard postpartum journey. And for those listening on this podcast, would you be able to share a little bit of what was so hard for you within pregnancy/postpartum?
Yeah, so in pregnancy, I was diagnosed with depression. I don't know, it's like the hormones that go through, your body like literally changes. I just did not feel like myself. Like that was like the first time I felt so off, you know, like and your body's just going through so many changes. So I remember I went into my doctor's appointment at my 32 weeks appointment, and she was like, "Oh, how are you?" And I was like, "I can't do it anymore. I'm so sad. And like, I just don't want to do this anymore." And then she's like, "Okay, I need you to see a therapist." I was like, "Yeah." So I remember
It's not funny, but yes.
No, yeah. It was really. I know I'm making light of it now, but it was very a dark season, and my marriage was so hard at that time because I think my husband didn't know how to navigate like my moods and like the way I was, and like so we struggled a lot during that tail end of, you know, the pregnancy. And then I have the baby, right? And my anxiety was off the charts. I literally thought he was gonna die like every day. Like I would not sleep. I didn't sleep. I literally would watch him in the monitor or like get up to check on him, and he was in our room, and that was my biggest fear, that like I was going to lose my baby while he was here. And on top of that, like I didn't have an easy pregnancy, right? So I like threw up the whole way through. I was nauseous the whole 9 months, and my fear of like that 9 months wasted of feeling this way to grow this child, like I'm going to protect it with my everything. That's how I felt. And my marriage was crumbling. Like my husband was on eggshells every day. Like I would lose my mind if he's like, "What?" I'd be like, "Go get the swaddle." And he'd be like, "What's that?" I'm like, "How do you not know what a swaddle is?" I'm like, and I'm crying. Like I'm like breaking down. Like, "See, I told you that if you just learned all these X, Y, and Z's about a baby, like I told you to, that we wouldn't be." Like I was nuts, like so crazy. And then, so there was like one night after my 6 weeks postpartum visit, he was so fed up with me. He was like, the fight was so bad. Like he was like punching the wall. Like he was just like, "I don't know what to do to help you. Like nothing gets through to you. Like I almost regret having a baby because I didn't know it make you like this." I think we both didn't know that. And that's when I decided to go on medication. I mean, I'm in healthcare, so, and I'm always like, "Oh, mental health, like do everything." But like to actually live it out, there's such a stigma behind medication, taking antidepressants during postpartum, taking any medication while you're breastfeeding. There's such a stigma behind it. And I actually believed in that stigma because I was prescribed this medication and I didn't take it. I just had it. She was just like, "You don't have to take it, but I'm gonna prescribe it because it sounds like you're not doing well, you know?" So I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." After that fight, I started taking it. And then 2 weeks, it felt better. I was chill. Like, I was not like this. I wasn't going up and down, like mood swings. I was sleeping. That was the biggest thing. I was sleeping. Even my husband was like, "Hey, honey, I think the medication's working. Like, you don't seem crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, I think it's working." Yeah.
Does he ever, like, if y'all have a big fight, does he ever go like, "Did you take your medication?"
No, he doesn't. But during that time, it was so noticeable. But that he had to say, like, "Are you okay?" Like, wow, I think it's working. Like, you're actually so much better, you know?
Wow.
I mean, I'm not saying like to the women out there that are struggling, like, "Hey, go on antidepressants." Like that's not the message, because like if I had the time to go back to therapy at the time, I would have. But I didn't have help. So it was just me and my husband. So there's no time of where I can go.
Your mom wasn't in the picture yet.
No, they were still working. So I was like, right. So they were working, and so I didn't have that help at the time. So I was like, there's no way I can go to therapy while we're raising a newborn, you know? Yeah. And so I was at like, if I don't do something about my postpartum depression, then my marriage is going to fall apart. And that's what happens? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the only one that has gone through this. Yeah. So
I feel like I resonate too, because I was also in therapy after my first child because I had the time and we had the resource to do that. And then after my second child, my husband changed our insurance plan, which means we would have to pay for therapy out of pocket. And I was like, why would you do that? This is like the one thing that was keeping me sane, you know? And then after that, my therapist was also like, if you're not going to do therapy, then you probably should go on medication. So I think resonating with that and echoing, there are other ways that you can try to do the work, but also medication isn't terrible as well.
No,
you know?
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, there are tools and resources out there for you that it can work with for anyone.
Yeah.
So if you have the resources to go to therapy and avoid the medication route, dude, I'm all for it. Like, I think I would have done that if I had the resources at the time.
And the time.
But if you don't have the resources and you just need at least a little Band-Aid for a little while, because this medication you don't have to be on forever. You could be on it for a little bit and until you get over that season, and then you can go off of it, you know, or taper off of it. So my message is that it's better to deal with it than to not deal with it. And there's avenues and resources that you can do and use to get better. Damn, like when I get flashbacks of that time, and it's like so scary, but you know, I do feel for the women out there. I don't think that go through it really hard.
Yeah, and I think you had sent me your results for the Enneagram, and your 3 and your 6 were very highly tied at the top.
Oh, really?
And 6 is like the loyal guardian, the loyalist. They really emphasize like security, stability, and they might be known to be more of like the anxious-driven types. I'm curious if you would have gotten a high 6 before motherhood, because you know how like MBTI can change a little bit or whatnot, but your type stays the same. However, the way you might score with different, or like those percentages or things could look different. But like another little sneak peek for Enneagram is there's like a stress path and a growth path. And so for a 3, you would go to 6 in a growth path and you would go to a 9 in a stress path. But there's this also like this blind spot path, and a blind spot path is what it would be with like your close ones or for you, your husband. And so in those cases, you would go to a very unhealthy type 6. And what that looks like is you would express your anxieties, complaints, angers, frustrations, and react like really strongly in ways that you would never show anyone else, that kind of side, and become suspicious of others and like really like heighten in your distrust. And I wonder, like, for example, like in this season, it's very clear. You don't have to go here to know that you were in a very like blind spot, like you were kind of lashing out on your husband in that way. But in the same way, like this is a way you can notice like, oh, this is a really high stress time in my life around my family, and this new side of me might come out, and so surprise, but like that's there, you know. So I think that's interesting to hear.
That's interesting. I definitely am like that with my close ones. I think they probably see the worst sides of me.
And they're probably like, whoa, what is this? This isn't like the bright. And so for a growth path within a 6, you would show healthy traits of a 6. And so I'm going to list 3 different, what that could look like and how you might have found yourself resonating to any of these in your more healthier season. Take rest in knowing you are not defined by your accomplishments. Become less competitive and more loyal, authentic, vulnerable, and cooperative. Shift to a team player mindset, asking for help and using your talents to help and promote others. Does that sound like
I definitely
it sounds like it too, as you share.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's me now. I will not say it was always like that.
Right.
But I definitely am not as competitive. I'm definitely much a team player. Yeah, at home too. Like even me and my husband, like I always see us as a team raising our son. Like even on a unit like at the hospital, you know, we're essentially a team. And my role as a resource nurse is to help, to make sure we're playing as a team and like getting things done and being efficient in giving care to our patients, you know. So I'm just like that extra hand. Definitely feel like that's where I'm at now. But definitely was never always like that.
I feel like it's so cool that we can see you in this like healthy light, right? Of like, for you, it was once you became a mom that you really were able to kind of shut down all the things you wrestled with, right? And like really step into your true identity. And that takes time. So for an Enneagram 3, there's superpowers. So like each type might have a superpower of some sort, is to shapeshift. Basically, shift based on the environment, right? And so I would be curious what that looks like and how is that draining? Like, because I feel like at work you have to play not. It's not like you're playing a part, but you shift in that way. You shift at home. You shift in different ways. Walk me through that or what that looks like for you.
You know, like I was thinking, to me, it's not hard. I don't know. Like, I think maybe because of my, I don't know, maybe. But I think all my life, I think that's like kind of how, that's just always been how I lived, right? Like, so if I like were to give you like the way my brain works, I guess, like I'm very good at multitasking. I'm definitely good at like having multiple thoughts run through my head, which is why like when you talk to me sometimes, like I'll be thinking of something else, but I'm in the moment there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I'm thinking about something else. That's why my husband's always like, I don't understand what you're talking about because like you don't give context. And that's because it's like I'm already thinking about it. So I'm like, why do I have to give you, like, you know, it's like, I'm already thinking about it in my head. So like, why do I have to give this huge context? Whereas my husband is like, he gives me the background to the background and like gives me this whole story so that I can understand like whatever point he's making. But to me, like, that's like a whirlwind of a story. So I'm like, no, I don't need all that information. I just need like whatever you're trying to tell me. But so yeah, I definitely feel like, I can think and do multiple things. If I'm in clinic, like I'm precepting with the preceptor, all the while I'm still trying to do my schoolwork during that time because I'm like, I don't have time to do schoolwork when I'm at home. So I need to try to finish X, Y, and Z assignment while I'm here in this 8 hours during the small windows that I have during my during the appointments, right? Or like even at work, right? Like I'll be like going through a day, right? Normal day. And these are things that like, things don't change often, right? Like there's like certain things in my role as a nurse that I have to do. Like at 10:30, I do blood sugars. At 11 o'clock, I start breaking lunch. Like there's things. But in between that, like I might think of a content creation idea, you know? So like my mind is spinning, but I'm still breaking lunches and I'm still taking care of patients, you know? But then that like content creation idea is like still spinning in my head, you know? Or sometimes like I just have to write it down. So my note app is like crazy. It's just like there's just so many notes going on. I have like lists of things for everything. But I don't know. It's not hard for me. I feel like that's just kind of like how I've always been.
I guess it is your superpower, so it is something that comes very
like
naturally.
I never really think of it as like but sometimes I do question like how do you like for my husband like how can you not multitask? Like he can only do like one thing at a time and I'm like he's like I can't think about that right now. Like I'm like what do you mean you can't think about that? Like
I agree. I don't know if that's a gender thing as well, but it's hard when you definitely have that on another level.
So I'm like, why not? Like I'm always thinking about like 10 years from now too sometimes. So he's like, you're too much, dude. Like you just need to calm down and stay in the present. Like I know.
So he's a present thinking kind of guy.
Yeah.
I wonder what he is, what type he is. Do you know?
I want to say he's a 9. I think he's a 9. I don't know. I forget these numbers all the time. There's too many.
Yeah. I mean, 9 is a safe answer. But okay, I want to, so like we hear different parts of your life today. And I think for the most part, it does sound like maybe it was a healthier upbringing for you. I would like to know like maybe in childhood, you know, where you were thrown into these leadership type settings where it's like translating, going to these like big places and having to be the adult voice in a sense for your family members. What did it look like to strive in childhood besides like these natural places where you had to become a leader quickly? As you were developing these skills, did you find yourself noticing like, oh, I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to try? What does striving look like in childhood? Maybe it's within the home, being the eldest daughter, eldest child, eldest daughter, or it could be like in the school where maybe you weren't as free to dream or things like that.
That's such a hard question. Oh my God. Well, okay, I will say this. I definitely didn't feel like I had to like work at being an older sister or anything like the eldest. But then what was hard is like that responsibility of like caring for the family was like automatic on me. Like
Right.
I didn't it's almost like I didn't have a choice. Like it's
And
not
you
like they were
never
gonna
built resentment because of that?
I did. I think I did. I mean like it's but then when you think about it, you go, well, there's no one else that will do it, you know? So you kind of can't complain because then you sound like a brat, right? Like, it's like my parents are like, can you call the bank and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, why can't you call the bank? You know, it's like, I sound like a little brat when they're like, well, I wish I could, but I can't, you know? Yeah, so I think like it was like kind of forced, but definitely I mean, the resentment wasn't like, you know, it wasn't that bad. I will say like I think my own self-ambition probably was the hardest to kind of navigate because in high school, so I wanted to be a doctor in high school and I did really well in high school. Like I would say like high school senior year was like my prime. Like I was like I loved it. I was senior, top dog. I was like top 50 in my class, president of this and you know, all those accolades, right? Like and then you go into college and you're just like amongst like gajillion students and school is so different. You don't know any teachers. Like these are like huge lecture halls and like you're also trying to experience like college life. So yeah, I definitely just did not do well in college. I think that was the hardest because I actually saw myself fail. Like I've never failed up until that point, until college where I'm like, wow, I'm actually not that smart. Like that's how I felt. Like, wow, I'm actually not that great. Like I'm not as great as I thought I was or you know, that was probably like the time where I definitely doubted myself a lot.
Because you were sharing a lot of like the not good enough maybe was a thought that was maybe a foundation in those years. Like was that because of starting college time or do you think like that was just always in the back of your head?
You know, it comes with like it's so multifaceted, right? Like being a girl and like struggling with like beauty or something, right? Like the way you look and stuff. Like I don't know, maybe I cared a little bit more about that when I was younger because of the experiences that I had with like friends or whatever. But then, you know, also being I was like in a long-term relationship at the time and, you know, it was not good, right? Like he cheated on me. Like there was just like a lot of things that brought my self-worth down in that aspect. And then you add on school where you're like not doing well. Like you're flunking classes. Like I was on academic probation. I'm never in my life have received a C or a D ever in my life. And then in college when it actually matters, that's like when you actually fail. That was probably the hardest. That was probably like the time that I felt very worthless. But that was also the time where I think I found myself. You know, when you go through those struggles and like hardships, that's when you find yourself, you know, and I definitely found my self-worth. I went on like mission trips at the time. I explored different career options. So I was in like pre-med and then I went into pre-PA for a little bit. Then I went to like another mission trip and did like medical missions and then I went back to pre-med. It's like a whole whirlwind story, but at the end of the day I chose nursing because nursing is such a everyone has nurses. Every country you go to, everyone has nurses. Whereas like PAs is so westernized, only like America, there few countries like have it. And so I chose nursing for that reason. And I'm so glad because nursing is like so awesome. Like so much about patient care and education. And so, you know, during that hard season of being in college and post college, like that's where I really think I found my ambition again. And I think like I found just a different calling that made more sense in my life, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's awesome.
It was
I feel like that's huge. So I want to go back to your marriage. And I am curious, like for you, it does sound like, you know, the medication was maybe the answer for that harmony that initially needed to be found there. Like, how do you, like, as you manage, right? Like, moms become managers of the home, even though, like, we want to respect the husbands too, and we do.
Right,
like, how do you do that, like, team player mindset? Or, like, how do you guys divide these roles? Because you do have to be out of home for at least a few days.
Right. Yeah, I think me and my husband, a little backstory is when we had our marriage counseling, I remember my pastor telling us, like, you guys are like, because we're both like volcanoes. Like, we're both like fire. Like, we're just, one of us isn't calm. Like, we're always just like, you know, like, we're kind of like that. So when we fight, we fight. Like, it's heated, you know? But he said, like, maybe in your marriage, there'll be moments where, like, it'll be rough. But definitely as a parent, you guys are going to be a team. Because you guys are both, like, very, what's that word, like, go-getters. Like, you guys are very much team players, like, naturally, that when your goal is to raise a child, like, you will thrive. And I definitely see that, because I think me and my husband, we definitely, I think we have our roles that we respect each other's roles. I think that's what it is, because he is the man of the household and he is the dad, you know? So I think I definitely respect him in that aspect, and I show that to him. So like, you know, big decisions for my son, like, I definitely do respect it. But he will ask me for, like, you know, opinions and things like that. And he definitely does just let me do whatever heck I want, because happy wife, happy life, right? But
Yes.
I will say, like, in terms of, like, the day-to-day, I think my husband's just really good with kids. I think he's just better with kids than I am. And so I might be the one doing, like, the daily stuff, like figuring out what he needs to eat and things like that. But my husband is very much the one nurturing Aiden at the time, right now in this season. But also, I think my husband has gone through so many ups and downs with me, and, like, you know, he's been with me through nursing school. So he knows, like, I have, like, these big spurts of, like, accomplishments, like, I need to get through. And so when I decided to go back to school, I think he's just like, this is a season. Like, this is a season that my wife needs me. And I think because we've experienced that prior, that he just knows what's expected of him to help our life move. Because I tell him to, like, my husband has, like, his own ambitions, and he loves, like, you know, he has his own goals and dreams too. And I'm a woman of my word. I go, you want to go for it. Like, if you want to pursue something, like, and that's what I want to give you, that space to do it. But he knows right now the space that I need, like, whatever I'm going through right now is mine. So I think he, like, holds back, and he lets me do whatever I need to do. So, you know, it's like a balancing game, right? Like, I mean, because he's shared his frustrations with me, like, you know, like, what about me? You know, I feel like there were so many moments in our relationship where you had to do so many things, and, like, when is that time gonna be for me to, like, do what I want to do and pursue the things that I want to? And, like, we've had those conversations. But I think the roles are very clear, like, in different stages. Nothing ever stays the same, you know?
I know.
But
how long do you foresee, like, this season for you?
So 2025. So I graduate in May, and then I'll take my boards in September, and then so once I get a job,
exciting.
then once I transition into a new job as a nurse practitioner, then, and once I settle in and get it going, like, I told my husband, like, the world is your oyster, boy. Like, you go and do whatever the heck you want. Because, like I said, if I ever go back to school, or if I ever ask you if I can go back to school, shoot me, kill me. No, don't let me, hit me. Like, I don't know, like no more.
Yeah. Because I remember in the other podcast you had said, like, both you and your husband are the stars. Or, like, something where it's like you guys both have that kind of trait, and so it was like cool to hear, because you would never think it just like through right now, even like the videos he's in. Obviously it's your account and stuff like that, but it's cool to hear that you're aware of the things he has in his mind, and then like when that time comes, like the balance will go the other way as well.
I think you have to, you know,
like, I mean, any marriage for sure. I don't know. I wonder if he is a 9. I'm curious.
I know. Now I'm curious too. I might have to make him retake it. I'll email you the results.
I know, seriously. And we'll do a marriage one.
Bring on Mike Ryu.
So like for a type 3 relationship values, they do look for like socially appropriate, competent, admirable, and attractive partners. Do you feel like when you think of your husband, you check these off?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Freaking like trophy wife over here.
Wow.
I mean, no. I definitely, I don't know. I just think, you know, with my struggles of like self-worth, you know, I think I've always struggled, you know, am I good enough? And, you know, things like that with any relationship, especially in the romantic love. You know, it's not like I had gajillion relationships, you know, I've only had a few. And so I think my husband does a good job of like just being loyal to me. And like, yeah, it's probably not me. It's probably the way he makes me feel. So yeah, really thankful.
That's awesome. I love it. I love hearing, because I think behind any like person, right, if you are in a marriage or in different relationships, right, that person has also been a support for how you've gotten to this place. And so it's nice to hear the perspectives and just listening to how you talk about him. So I love that. I'm so glad you guys got over the hump of that, you know, that time. So ultimately with the Enneagram, right, the only reason why you are what you are is because of the core motivations, which is the 4 things. And so I wanted to just read those for a type 3 and then have you answer what maybe in this time is something that sticks out to you of like what core motivation really maybe even matters or like, sticks out in general. Let me go ahead and bring it up. So for your core fear, a type 3's core fear is being exposed as or thought of as incompetent, inefficient, or worthless, failing to be or appear successful. Their core desire is to have high status and respect, being admired, successful, and valuable. Core weakness is deceit, deceiving yourself into believing you are only the image you present to others. And then the core longing, you want to hear this, you are loved and valued for simply being you. And so I would be curious maybe in upbringing, which one of these might have stuck out the most? And then today, which one of these sticks out the most?
Oh, gosh. I feel like they're all so... like, they hit me in, like, different ways.
You are a type 3. So.
No, but definitely the last one, I think you said, like, you are loved no matter. I think, like, that's
simply for
me when I was younger, you know. Just, I think I've always had, like, this high performance mentality, probably. Like, just being the eldest daughter, right? Like I said, like, I didn't have much of a choice. I had to just do, you know. So I think I definitely resonate with that as the older one. But I think for now, like all the top 3, I feel like the first one and the third one you talked about is probably kind of how I feel now. I don't know. I think because I'm on social media now. So being on social media, you're going to have judgment. Like, that's for sure. Like, people are going to perceive you in a certain way or whatever. But like, I think my biggest fear with it was, like, people thinking I'm not authentic or, like, me just trying to, like, follow, you know, that influencer life. Like, you know, I don't want people to put me in that category. Right. I think, like, I tried to do my best to not do that. And I think it's because, like, you know, you hear it. Like, oh, everyone's trying to do social media and like da-da-da. But like, I want to be like, no, I'm different. Like, it was never meant to happen that way. Like, I mean, who cares, right? Like, I get it. Like, no one cares. But I think like part of me still kind of feels like that. Like,
I mean, even I remember your podcast, you had said that Mama G was always your handle. So it's not even like it was a momfluencer type of rebrand. So I hear that, you know, in that way too. It could look like, oh, this is a mom person or whatever, you know, but like it
Yeah.
sounds like that was always a part of who you were, and you're just like bringing out
Right.
parts of you, and so that's cool to hear too.
Yeah. But I definitely like it's, you know, it's a struggle. I feel
Yeah.
like that part I really do struggle with. Like I don't want people to perceive me in a certain way
Yeah.
that, you know, and I think when I started social media, like you kind of have to drop it because people are going to judge you no matter what and talk crap like about who you are. You know, I'm people that I'm friends with know me for me. And they support me in this journey of social media and navigating through it. And like as long as I have those people who believe in me and know me at my core, like I shouldn't care about how I'm perceived through social media.
Yeah.
But it's
that's
honestly
hard.
it's kind of a struggle for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
When
And
I
I feel like
first
that's probably
started it.
something you're going to always face, right? And so it's not so much like
Yeah.
you have to overcome that struggle, but I think, you know, hearing about the healthy path you are in right now too, it's like
Yeah.
you're there with the skills you need to just kind of like keep you grounded when that struggle obviously will come. For you, like if you could give one piece of advice to new moms who are feeling overwhelmed, or whether it's just women in general that want to have these big dreams and like, can I do all of it? Like, what would be a piece of advice you would want to give them?
Yeah, I think for women who are like, I want to do it all and like, I want to be a career woman but still be a good mom, I think it all starts off with mentality. You can't, I don't know how to explain it where it's like, so basically don't make it a bad thing. Like, make it a good thing. You know, it's all about mentality of how you look at it and perceive it. I think I'm the type where, so the way I see it is like, I can do it all. Like, why not? Why not? You know, but it's also timing, right? So you can't be selfish. You have to look at the whole picture. Like, if this season is not the season, that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. Like, maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, you can do it. You know, like, that's how I see it. Like right now I can do it because I have the resources and support to do it. But if you're someone who doesn't have that, I will say, well, don't give up. Just do it later, you know? Like in terms of social media, like if you want to be a social media content creator, influencer, just do it. Like, why the heck not? Like, you know, like who knows what can pop off and who cares what your motive is, right? Like, if you want to use it for income generating things like that, then go for it, you know, like whatever it is, but be consistent. Like, just post. Everything's content, you know? That's what I say.
Do you, even though it's not like you're trying in that kind of way, do you have any tips or trends you've noticed just being in that field now as well?
Do what you like. That's all I can say. So first thing is like, you have to be consistent. Like, I post almost every day. Like, I will say, whether if it's like a dancing thing because there's a trend that I'm doing and I love, or like cooking because I'm not a good cook, but I love sharing easy meals for moms with busy families, right? So there's that. And like makeup, like, you know, things that you love, post because those come natural and those don't take as much time. But you have to be consistent and like, okay, I would say that I don't have a niche. Whereas some people might say I do have a niche, but I think my sister says like I'm just like a lifestyle content creator. I guess like I just share my life on, you know? So I feel like if you have a niche that you really want to drive, then yeah, definitely go for it, you know? But if you're like me who, you know, just kind of having fun with it, like share everything and share anything. Like I think people can relate to different things that way.
Yeah, just like within next year, are there any different personal or professional goals that you want to share, or like what's ahead for you guys as a family, or what are your husband's dreams?
I know. So much, right? Like, I feel like we're such dreamers, but I'm not like a crazy dreamer. I just know what I want, I think. So I definitely, hopefully, like, will secure a nurse practitioner job in a field that's, you know, that I would be very interested in, and also be able to share like why I love it so much, right, on social media and like things like that. I definitely see, hopefully me and my husband can grow our family, you know, within the next year. And then also my husband's like kind of tapping in, so he's a wedding photographer, and so he's been doing that for a very long time, and my husband's so good at it. Like I think I want to say, like, I probably fell for his talent first.
Wow.
Yeah, he has a way of, like, capturing people. And so I think now he's trying to explore different avenues of photography. And so I definitely want to give him that space to do that in the next year or so. Like, financially free, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully my son will be going to school next year.
Yeah.
I think he will be going to school next year, so
Wow, that's huge.
yeah. So a lot of different things.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you some rapid fire questions before we end today. Actually, they're not bad at all. They're just quick questions.
I think I listened to your other like podcast, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know what I would answer for that. I'm like, they're called rapid fire questions. Okay.
What's your favorite family tradition?
Oh my god, I don't have one. Like, my life is so crazy, so no tradition. Actually, I was just kidding. The only thing is I can think of right now that we've been kind of doing is, you know how on New Year's we play yutnori? Like, Koreans play yutnori? Yeah, so we've been, like, my family's been doing that, for a while now, and hopefully Aiden's at the age now that he could actually throw the wood toys.
Yeah.
Is that a tradition? We don't have one. I'm so, like, not traditional.
I'm sure people are smiling just remembering their yutnori days too.
Yeah, I just feel like that's one thing we try to do.
Yeah. What's your favorite book that you read with Aiden?
Oh, right now is Giraffes Can't Dance.
Oh, what about Activity?
I don't know if you had
I have seen that one. Yeah, or I haven't read it
Activity.
Yet, but I've seen it.
Honestly, Activity, we just go on walks. Yeah, walks and dancing. Like, Aiden knows exactly, like, when I put the tripod out, he's like, yes,
that.
Mom. Yeah, he's like, God. I'm ready, jumping up and down. Like, he knows.
What would you be saying if someone caught you talking in your sleep?
Leave me alone. I don't know. I think my husband says I sleep talk.
Yeah. Who would you trade lives with for one day? Just one day.
Taylor Swift.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see that.
I actually want to trade lives with, like, someone famous, like, that's a pop star, because I always joke that, like, in another life I would be a pop star.
Yeah, I see that.
I think I just want to, like, live, like, that performing life, like, at one point in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the weirdest quirk you have? I feel like you're all quirky.
I am all quirk. No, I'm just...
Are your parents quirky?
My mom is very
silly?
quirky. My mom is the epitome of, like, a strong, independent woman because of her upbringing. But she's kind of weird. Like, she spazzes. And, like, I definitely have spazzy moments where I'm like, ah, and my mom's like, ah, and then me and her together, like, ah, we're, like, in front of Aiden. And Aiden's just like...
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so we're all spazzy. My whole the girls in our family is all spazzy. My dad's just like, ha, 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 you know, like,
he had to
jovial.
take on that role, right?
Yes, he's just like,
for his woman.
Yes.
I love seeing the stories where you guys would eat together in the hospital. I think that's a story. That's like, you know, couldn't talk as much about it here. But yeah, that was such a.
I know. I wanted to post a video of, like, or I'm trying to work on a video where it's like follow up how it's been working with my dad after, you know, it's been a year now that he's been working there. And so,
because I feel like you do such a good job of doing all these, like, silly videos and then, like, hitting it with that sentimental, right?
You know, throwing the vulnerability here.
Exactly. Sprinkle that in. What are two New Year's goals that you have or that you should start thinking about having?
Dude, I have too many goals. I don't know.
What if you just narrow it down to just two?
I know. Okay, I mean, the most practical one is that I finish all my clinical hours by June. Okay?
Yes.
Like, finishing that off. That's very practical. I think
what about
the other
dreamer
goal is
one?
I mean, the dreamer is already there. Like, I already have that, but I think, like, I really do want to really work on my marriage. I think once you have a kid, it just changes so much.
Yeah.
I think we did, like, one trip, me and my husband, we went golfing. Like, it was like,
I remember.
Yeah, it was just so nice. And I really do hope next year that I can have a little more moment like that with my husband in our crazy day, like, daily life, you know? It's like have those sweet moments. It's just so hard right now
So
with everything.
hard.
Yeah. Something's got to give. Nothing's perfect, right? Like you can be successful here, there, and here, but like something's giving. And I definitely think that it's in the marriage portion of ours. So I definitely want to work on that. Yeah.
Okay. And if you could describe yourself as a fruit, what would you be and why?
I'm a strawberry
Oh, why?
because I just like strawberries.
That's a good
I
answer.
like the taste of strawberries. They look cute. They're sweet. They taste good with everything. I don't know. That's my favorite fruit. So
Yeah, nobody's sad when
Yeah.
strawberries are in the lineup.
yeah. We love
Okay,
strawberries.
do you have anything else you would like to say? And where can we follow you? It's like Mama G, I think.
Yeah, it's Mama G because Mama G was taken. No, Mama G. I'm on Instagram and TikTok mostly. I used to do YouTube like shorts, but people on YouTube are kind of mean, so I
Oh,
stopped
really?
putting. Yeah, they're
would
kind of
not have
mean,
thought
and
so.
so just stop. Especially the videos I post with Aiden, I took off. Like I just don't post on there. Oh yeah, I have those two platforms. I'm mostly more active on Instagram than I am on TikTok. So I mean, I'm a millennial.
Yeah,
so-
I know, seriously.
Yeah, so Instagram is kind of like where we thrive.
Anything else you want to say, or should I close us off?
Yeah, I think I did a lot of talking.
You did, in such a good way. I love it when
So I feel
the
like-
guest gives it to me, so I don't have to like pull
Uh-huh.
teeth, you know? It's always nice to hear, especially when you follow someone on social media and then you get to hear more of their heart and
Yeah.
where they hope to grow even in the next year. So rooting for you guys and your marriage, and, you know, like so happy that you guys were able to get out of such a hard stage, like a dark stage, but, you know, excited that there's so much more ahead for you guys, you know, as you
Yeah.
guys team work together to overcome this last year for you at
Let's
least.
just get it through. I just
Yeah.
ready to take the hat off and be
Yeah.
like, I'm done with this.
Yes, and then Aiden's gonna go to school, so that's gonna be
I know.
huge. But yeah, hopefully we will get to connect sometime in the future as well. But for today, I just want to say
Yeah.
thank you so much, Grace, for coming on the podcast, and I feel like really just sharing an honest and heartfelt side of you. I love that you are this silly self online, and that when you come, though, you come with like your fullest self. And so I hope that your patients can see that, your friends and your community, and then the online world that you bless us with your moves and all of that. And so
Yay.
thank you for this time. And if you're listening online, thank you for listening to another episode of, you have to say it with me.
Oh, color commentary. Woo!
Yay!
Yes.